Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. I was just looking at this. Okay. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. As you can tell, if you're watching this on video, I am once again doing this from my car as a demonstration of the entrepreneur podcast life is chaos. It is all chaos. So I am grateful for the technology to be able to do this show, from my car. So I just want to put that out there. Sometimes you got to just roll with the punches. But yes, welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. Let me tell you, this is the show where we like to have real talk about real things. We like to talk about things in education, employment, mental health, physical health, or anything that is steamy. We've done episodes on homeschooling, living with disabilities, robots taking our jobs, self care. What else? So we've done a plethora of episodes um, on education, on self care, on all that mushy stuff, all in the name of education, you guys. So all of these things are to teach you, as we are a part of my company, a Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So I like to think of this as an educational program. So of course, I am here to learn you something. All right, so I am looking forward to this show because I am particularly interested in this topic, and I am interested in seeing where this goes. So let's get right into it. It's a brand new guest to the show, and it's a brand new topic. So I'm curious to see, where the conversation will go. So let's jump right into it. So my guest today is, let me get her name up here, Alesia Alesia Galati or Gelati. Oh my God, I already butchered her name. I'm so sorry. Alesia Gelati. Or is it Galati? I'll ask her when she gets on. But yes, so she is my guest for today. And let me tell you what the topic is today. So the topic today is I grew up in a cult. That's right. So we are going to be talking about cults today. So I definitely want to see where this conversation goes. I grew up in a cult. That is the subject for today. So let me just tell you. So Alesia Galati or Gelati. I'll ask her. I'm so sorry. I already butchered her name. But yeah, so she has her own podcast management company. So if you are out there and you want to get your podcast set up, her company will do all the hard lifting, all the heavy lifting for you. So that is her job. So if you are a podcaster, a budding podcaster, and you're looking to get your podcast set up, but you want someone else to do all the work, uh, hit up your girl, Alesia. She'll do that for you. All right, without further ado, let me go ahead and bring her to the stage. Hey there, how you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I already butchered your name.
You're good.
Alesia
Galati.
Galati.
Yep, you're
I was
good.
thinking I was thinking gelato. I'm so sorry.
I mean, you're probably hungry. It's fine. I get it.
Galati. Good, good, good. All right, well, welcome to the show. Welcome to Hot Topics. So, you have an interesting story about, growing up in a cult. So I definitely want to hear your story and explore that with you. So let's get you on the hot seat. Let's get started. So I'm just gonna have you dive right in. I'm gonna pass the baton over to you. So please tell us your story about growing up in a cult.
Yeah, so when I was 11 and I grew up in a single parent home, and my mom was an addict for the majority of her life. And when I was 11, I'm the oldest of five kids. And she got to the point where she just felt like, look, I need to get help. I want to be better. I want to do better for my kids. And decided to join this women's program that was going to help her get clean, become a better mom, all that fun stuff. Now, the program was supposed to last 18 months. We were there for 10 years instead. And a lot of it was really centered around teaching her skills to, yes, be a better mom, but rely very heavily on the input of the leader. And that's where that whole like cult mentality and like cult lifestyle, we lived on a secluded property. We were all homeschooled at this place. I didn't learn to drive until I was like 21 years old, had no marketable job skills whatsoever. Was told that I had to go to a Bible college after I finished high school through them. And if I didn't, then I wouldn't have a home to go back to. So, yeah, definitely cult behavior. And when I think about cults, people think, oh, drinking the Kool Aid or, the white sneakers and everyone passing away. But it's so much more than that. And there are plenty of modern day cults, even some churches can be considered modern day cults if they have the message that we are the only ones who have the truth. And if you leave, you will not have that truth. You are incapable of finding that, whatever that truth is, on your own. You need the leader to give you that truth. So yes, that's my story.
All right, thank you so much for that. All right, so let's dive into that a little bit. So let's start from the beginning. So how did your mom even find the cult?
Yeah, so it was affiliated with a mega church out of New York City, and my great aunt, so my mother's aunt, knew about the church and had been to that church before, heard about the women's program, and thought this would be a perfect place for my niece to go to. She needs this help. She needs to get better, and they really put a lot of investment into helping my mom specifically uh, get over her addiction. So this was the kind of their last attempt at trying to get her to do better and be better.
All right, so your aunts told your mom about the cult.
Yeah, pretty much picked her up from where she was because at the time we were not living with her, and picked her up at the house she was at and said, like, this is the end of the road. We're driving you to this place and you're going to get better.
Now, all right, so your mom was facing she's drug addiction, right? So where was your mom at the time? Was she in a halfway house? Was she in prison? Where was she at the time?
At the time, she was a sex worker. And so she was currently at the time being pimped out and living in a house with other women who were also sex workers.
Okay. And now, did your mom want to get out of that life, or was her sister was just being a big sister or a little sister and just like, no, you're leaving?
Yeah, so I believe it was her rock bottom, like where she was like, I need to get out of this. And I know that she genuinely wanted to. But during that time, and even further into being at that camp, right? We just very affectionately or non affectionately call it the camp, where we were located. During that time, she dealt with a lot of mental health issues. And after the fact, was diagnosed with manic depression. And so I don't know. Like now, she's since passed away. She actually overdosed on morphine. There was too much fentanyl in it, and it took her life in 2019. So I honestly can't ask her like the questions of why did you go, right? Like that's a big question that I have. Like why in the world did you go there? Why did you stay there? And why didn't it fix you, quote unquote? Because I don't really think that that religion and having some type of cult behavior really actually fixes anyone. Um, and so, yeah, I think that it might have been her rock bottom, but it really was her being strung out and being a sex worker, and then her aunt being like, let's go.
Hey, you still with me?
Yes.
Okay. Screen looks a little frozen there. Okay. All right. Yeah. So right. So it's like your mom was in this life, right? She was being a
Mm-hmm.
sex worker, and I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why she chose to do that kind of work, right?
Yeah.
But there was a part of her, I guess, that wanted to get out because she let her sister drag her, right?
Yeah.
So now, how was your aunt already in the cult?
No. So she just knew of it and knew that it was a place that my mom could go to get better. Like just knew what it was affiliated with, but didn't really know a lot of like what went on behind the scenes there. And when, especially because you're looking at like early 2000s, right? During that time, like if you can get clean, then that's a win. like that was kind of the attitude. It wasn't like, hey, what led to you getting to this point? What caused you to have this problem? Why? What are the mental health issues behind this? Like, there was never that look at that. It was just, oh, you're clean. Yay. Keep doing what you're doing. And I think that's why she was encouraged by family to just stay if she was doing so well.
Uh, okay. All right. So now, what did the cult have a name? What was the name of it?
I would actually prefer not to say if that's okay. We just we
Not
call it
not
the
allowed
camp.
to say.
Yeah, I would just prefer not to. They've since closed, but I do know that the leader is currently doing other things. And so I try to stay out of their hair as much as possible.
I mean, do they know you? Like, because you're talking about
Yeah, I mean,
this,
they're
and you talked about it
aware.
before.
Yeah, they're aware of me as a person. And like when my mom passed, they reached out in a very like, oh, well, we didn't agree, but I'm sad she's gone kind of thing. Um, and yeah, because at that point she had left and she had obviously gotten back on drugs. And yeah, the attitude was just very sorry, but she had what was coming to her by being on drugs kind of attitude. And so they know of me. And I mean, it was like 100 people at that facility at any time. So it wasn't like it was thousands of people where I would get lost. If I'm sure if my name was brought up, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Alesia." um, but yeah, I prefer not to.
That's fine. And I mean, there's a lot of when it comes to cults, there's this stigma about, like cult leaders chasing you down and making people disappear. So, it's understandable why, you're afraid to say the name. So, all right. So you get to the cult. So your mom is there with you and your sister, right?
I'm the oldest of five, so it's myself, my sister, and three younger brothers.
All right. So, how old were you at the time when you started?
I was just about to turn 11.
All right. So, were you aware of what was going on?
I was aware that my mom had problems, and that was kind of the extent. I didn't really know until I was maybe about 12 that it was drugs. or that she did sex work or anything like that. But at the time, it was just mom's giving money to people. We don't have money for food. And as the oldest of 5 kids with like a newborn baby, it was always like trying to take care of my family as best I could while mom is sleeping or not there or whatever. And so when we got there, it was honestly relieving as a child to not have to worry about where our next meal was coming from, to not have to worry about clothes, to not have to worry about things because everything was taken care of and that mom was with us. Like those were the highlights, is that we had food, we had clothes, and mom was okay, right? And so it was good. Like that's how it felt in the beginning. And yeah, I went through the whole like teen angst, like rebelliousness and like, I don't like you kind of thing. But for the most part, it was like mom's clean and that's good, right? But then it got to the point where when I was 17 and I finished high school, so they homeschooled us through the program. The girls were not allowed to go out and like play sports or like do anything. And I wanted to either go into the military or go to college. And I was told that if I did not go to the private college, the Bible college of their choice, that which they were affiliated with, that I would not have a home to come home to. And as a 17-year-old who has no working marketable skills at all, cannot drive a vehicle at all because I have not been taught to drive a vehicle, and really just can't live in the world. Like when I explain to people like the kinds of things that I went through there and the lack of interaction with other people, they're like, how are you normal? I'm like, I mean, normal's relative, right? But like, really, it was like going into the Bible college with like other people who grew up in pretty sheltered lives, right? It still was really awkward and really weird. And like trying to make conversation with people that I've never met before when I've been living in a house with like a big house with the same people for the last 6 years, 7 years. Um, and so, yeah, it was terrifying to come to that point. But that's when I realized something's wrong here. Like, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. I shouldn't be threatened like this. And I should have the ability to do what I want with my life and be trusted to do what I want with my life without it being, oh, you're going to turn into a drug addict like your mom.
So sort of like there was this pushback against your choices. You wanted, from 11 to 17, you were thinking, oh, this is normal. This is what I'm supposed to do, right? And then when it comes to choosing choosing life after well, you were homeschooled, but choosing what to do with the rest of your adult life, now you have these people telling you what to do, what not to do, and it's that didn't seem right.
Yeah. And that's when I realized, like, why? Which is definitely frowned upon in a cult,
Mhm.
is if you ask why, you are seen as rebellious or seen as having too much pride, going against the grain, that you are ungrateful. Like there's a lot of words thrown of like making you feel less than because your choices are different than what is set for you.
So, did you know ahead of time that they wanted you to go to the Bible college?
They had hinted at it, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I feel like I know the Bible. I've been like learning it for the last 7 years. Also, I went to a private Christian elementary school. Like I've never been to public school. I'd always gone to private schools, and then being homeschooled. And like I feel like I know the Bible enough. I don't think I need to go to Bible college. I kind of got that. Um, and even some of the colleges I was looking at were more Christian leaning colleges. Like it wasn't like I was like, I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to party. Like it wasn't even that kind of attitude. And I think that's what really struck me was I can't be trusted to make these decisions when you've been teaching me to be this way, then why can't you trust me to be this way? If I want to do it, like if I want to grow this way in my religion and I want to go this way in the decisions I'm making, then why can't I be trusted? Why do I have to go to this place to be further watched, to be further secluded, to be further separated from the world? And yeah, that's kind of when I was like, no, this something's wrong. But what choice do I have, right? At 17, with no marketable skills, with no license, no money, like what choice do I have then to say, I mean, it's paid for and it gets me out of here and maybe around normal people. I don't know. So yes, then I went to Bible college after that. And my mom continued to stay at the camp.
So eventually you followed through with their path for you.
Yes.
And how did that make you feel?
I liked the ability, and I honestly would have gotten this anywhere, but I liked the ability to discover who I am outside of my parental and very codependent relationship with my mom. Like having also raised all of my younger siblings, having had to be the parent for so many years and help her co-parent for so many years, even at the camp. Like it's not like any of our dads were there. Like it was us kids and her, and everybody else is looking out for themselves. So I had to show up and help a lot with my siblings and helping parent them and show up to things. And just being able to really discover what I wanted, and also finding that I have a bit of obsessive behaviors because of the lack of ability to make choices up until that point. So when I was at the Bible college, because there were very, very little choices, we weren't allowed to leave the property, we weren't allowed to have cell phones. I mean, this is like 2009, 2010. Cell phones were a thing, right? Like we weren't allowed to have any of that. If the girls were talking to the boys, you had the women talking to the men. Like you had to be in odd numbered groups. It had to be like 2 women, 3 men, 2 guys, 3 girls. Like you always had to have, like you couldn't couple off. Weren't allowed to kiss, weren't allowed to like hold hands or like make eyes or any of that stuff. So there was it was literally going from one very controlling environment into another very controlling environment, and finding that there were very few things that I could control. And one of those being my fitness, the things I ate. And so I went almost to the point of overdoing it and malnourishment, of working out 3 hours a day because I have nothing else to do, like eating as healthy as I can, but still not getting the nutrients I needed with the amount of working out I was doing because I didn't have any knowledge of that. Spending hours in the library, reading absolute ridiculous, like old Presbyterian books and books and books during meetups and parties, and not like parties, like Christian parties, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're doing a little ice cream social kind of parties. And I did not want to be around anyone. So if I could make myself, remove myself, that was my choice. Finding ways that I could make those choices for myself and actually do what I wanted with my life within the construct of what I was able to do.
So So now, I mean, did you ever talk to your mom about this, um, the leaders of like the cult and them deciding for you to go to the Bible college? Did you ever talk to your mom about that?
Yeah, her thing was just like, yeah, it's good for you. Go. Like she was very much on board, excuse me, with their decisions. And like this is the point in my mom's journey with them where she had gone back to school and gotten her GED through them, like they had helped her and supported her while she was living at the camp, going to college, coming back, like literally just going to and from. She got her became a registered nurse. So she finished her associates. She started working. And when she started working, they were like, well, you need to save up money. And so then they started controlling her finances to the point so that way she could save money for her car under the guise of, we're going to help you, make you save money for this car, instead of teaching her to make better financial decisions for herself. Instead of, and this is the thing, right? Like with cults, and I take this approach, the opposite of this approach with raising my kids. And it is not allowing people to think for themselves, not empowering people to make better decisions for their life themselves, allowing them to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and just instead saying, this is what we have to do to control them so that they don't fall away, so that we are right with whoever higher ups we are talking to and keeping these numbers the way that they need to be. And a lot of this changed. So, like, when we first got there, it was a 12-month program. Then, while my
Mm-hmm.
mom was in the program, it turned into an 18-month program because women were going through the program, leaving, and having to come back. And so I honestly think it was a lot of fear around, well, what we're doing isn't working. How can we tighten the reins more to make these results happen? And noting that, like, a lot of conversations were not happening around mental health. And so when my mom was later diagnosed with manic depression, it's like, yeah, that makes sense that you would have these really high highs and these really low lows, and you would resort to drugs in your really low lows. Like, that makes sense. How about empowering her to find other avenues and other outlets to work through? Maybe get on medication if she needed. Like, none of that was explored. And instead, it was rely on us, rely on God, everything will work out. And that's not how it works. Like, that's not how humans work, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
do revert back to the things that are like make us feel better, right? So, yeah.
I mean, you're very insightful about all this. So, did you? So I mean, uh, I guess. So I'll put it to you like this. So now, I'll ask you the same question I asked in the preliminary interview, which is, so how are you aware that you were in a cult versus how do you know it's not a religion, right?
Mm,
So
yeah.
what is the difference between a cult and a religion?
I honestly believe that there is no difference between a cult and a religion, that the only difference really is that a religion has is a cult that has stood the test of time, right? And so when you think of like Jesus and his disciples, right? Everyone in that time would have considered, very early Christianity would have considered Jesus and his disciples a cult. They're following one leader, they're obeying what that leader says. They are in a very deep community where very secretive, no one else is allowed in unless they like know the secret handshake type of things, like all of those different aspects. Even if you look at Catholicism, like early Catholicism, very cult-like. The popes have everybody reading the Bible out of one language that the people who were peasants didn't understand, didn't know. And like, instead, it's just stood the test of time, right? And so now these are religions.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that all religions are bad, or they even that all cults are bad. Like, I've heard about cults where they're like, look, we're going to go and be on a farm somewhere and we're just going to live our lives and enjoy stuff. As long as no one is like forcing anyone to stay there or like holding anyone hostage, as long as none of that stuff is happening, then whatever, like live your life. um, but once it gets to the point, right, and we see this a lot with like biblicist Christianity, certain churches as well, like even the church that we grew up in, which is the one that my aunt was going to, and definitely had these vibes of you cannot go to a different church because other churches don't know whatever this
Mhm.
unknowing is. Like they don't know the full truth. So you're not allowed to go to these other churches. You're not allowed to associate with people outside because they don't know the full truth. You need to stay within. There's a lot of intermarrying, and like there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. But there are churches like that. Now that's not to say that the church up the street from you is doing this. If they're like, preaching a good message, encouraging people to be better selves, and nobody's doing anything shady, whatever. But as soon as it gets to the point of the leader making decisions, then that starts to be very cult like the leader saying, I am the only one who knows the proper choices here, not allowing people to
Mhm.
think for themselves. And like I said before, this is something that my husband and I are so adamant about teaching our kids. Literally, our 8-year-old asked us the other day, when we told him, some people will tell you things, adults will, and we said adults will tell you things, double check that stuff. Like some people might not be telling you the truth. You should double check information, make sure that it's correct, and be able to think for yourself. And he goes, well, how do I know if you guys are telling us the truth? And like you are the not like don't have ulterior motives. And my husband was like, well, my motive is to make sure that you are able to think for yourself. So I don't think that's a bad
Mhm.
motive, but we encourage you to question us. We apologize when we're wrong. We are raising them to not have to rely on us to make really great decisions for their lives. And I think that's the difference, right? In like cult behavior and controlling behavior versus empowering and allowing other people to blossom and flower and turn into their awesome greatness, right? Like everybody has it within them, but a lot of people think, oh, I have to conform you to my vision of what I think you should be. And people who, I don't want to use the word weak minded because it's not true, people who are in a place in their life where they feel very alone, where they feel like no one is listening to them. But when a person comes into their life, like a cult leader, and says, I hear you, I see you, and I can help you, then those people will turn to people like cult leaders. And I think that it really is up to us as just humanity, right, to make a difference in these people's lives and encourage them to think for themselves, to do for themselves rather than turning to people who have ill intent toward them of trying to control them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. All right. This is a fabulous conversation. There's so much more that we can discuss, but I'm going to start to wind things down now. So, now, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah. Someone recently asked me who my hero is. And as someone who grew up in a cult, hero worship is like just always feels really gross. And like looking up to someone is like, that sounds like a cult. It's a bit triggering, right? And so I told him, I said, you know what? The person who is my hero, the person I aspire to be like, the person that I look up to is that future self, my future self, who I know I can be, who I know I am capable of becoming because of choices I make, because of allowing myself to make mistakes and learn from them and become a better person. And so, if I can leave any you guys with anything, it's aspire to be your future self, and also be content with who you are today, right? Like so often as humans, we're like, all right, next. No celebration. We've hit that goal. Great, next. I know I do that quite often. And so realizing that who you are today at your full, like, this is everything that's available to me today to be my best self today, then that's enough, right? Like, you don't have to be this perfect person every day. This is what I have today available to me energetically, emotionally. Maybe everything went crazy and I'm feeling drained. Energetically, all that's available to me is maybe taking a nap. And you know what? That's awesome. So, really just encouraging everybody to be themselves, be their best selves that is available to them today, and aspiring to be their best selves in the future.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for those great words of wisdom. All right, so I'm going to put that up on the bottom of the screen. All right, you guys. So Alesia Galati, you can find her all over the web, you guys. You can find her on LinkedIn. Just look up her name, Alesia Galati. She's also on Facebook under the name Galati Media. And she is also on Instagram. It is just her name, Alesia.Galati. So I encourage you to find her, to follow her on all of her accounts. Oh, you have a podcast too, right?
I do, yes. It's called Listeners to Leads. If anyone's like, hey, I'm this whole podcasting thing, what's up with it? And so it's all about using your podcast for your business to grow your business and being very strategic with the launching, monetizing, all that fun stuff.
All right, so she has a podcast. So check out her podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. And again, you can find her on LinkedIn under her name, Alesia Galati. On Facebook, the name on the page is Galati Media, and on Instagram it is Alesia period Galati. So I encourage you to find her and follow her on all of her social media accounts. All right, so Alesia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so I'm gonna move you from the stream now. All right, and it is just you and me, guys. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. So I just want to remind you guys that Hot Topic is a production of my company, A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you are looking for tutoring services, whether it's for your child or even for yourself, we do one-on-one tutoring, test prep, college counseling, and some virtual workshops as well. We also do editing and proofreading. So if you need any kind of academic assistance, whether it's homework help or time management or study sessions, we do that for you. Just reach out to us. Our website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. You could also call us or text us. The number is 347-762-2838. You could also find us all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, YouTube, and Eventbrite. So you can find us on all of those platforms and follow us and subscribe as well. So I encourage you to track us down and find us. So if you're looking for any kind of tutoring help or academic assistance, reach out to us. I will give you our website again. It is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to you joining me at the next episode. And now I am signing off. Bye, guys.